live on Facebook already, so I'll just go ahead and unmute that. Let me go back to that here a second.
Yeah, we're not live on the air yet. I just want to hear to make sure it's going to come through.
Okay. Let me find it now again. Okay, now they're muting. Oh, here it goes. Can you hear that?
You're watching World on SDPB.
Oh, I'm not getting anything other than music right now.
SDPB free for everyone, with help from.
We had an old router go out, which prevented us from sending data to the other offices. We heard SDN might have a fix.
Nope, there's nothing coming through but you.
We were out.
Okay, okay, I have to share it here.
Operational the next day.
That's it?
That's it.
Can you hear it now?
I can hear the commercial
services, providing
Yeah,
electricity
that's
and
it.
energy services to 12 South Dakota municipal utilities.
Okay.
Not for profit, customer owned,
Go ahead and
customer
put us
controlled,
on, I guess,
customer
and,
valued. Missouri River Energy Services.
And we'll say hello to Natalie for a couple of minutes because it's 12 o'clock.
All right, you're going live right now.
Thank you, Troy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to Kipi Radio. I'm very happy to have Natalie Stites-Means with us. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Chaz. Hi, Kipi.
Thank you for being patient with us. We're trying to. This is the first time we've done this, and so it's all looking pretty good. But it's right now time for us to go to the speech that we're here to listen to, and we're going to put it on the air, and then we'll be back when it's all over. But I said we're right now ready to go, and then I look over here and it looks like they're still milling around. So how's the weather out there in Rapid?
It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. The snow is still, sticking. But yes, I'm happy to be here in the Hesapa.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come and do this. We were going to have Carl as well be with us, Carl Peterson, but he was unable to get away from school, so it's just us. And I'm going to go to what we're going to stream, and everyone, we're doing the South Dakota Public Broadcasting stream, and we're listening to the state of the tribes. Yesterday was the state of the state, and Natalie, we'll talk a little bit about that when we get done. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Sounds good.
And then thank you to South Dakota Public Broadcasting for putting it out there. I appreciate them so much. Here goes.
Absolutely.
Madam Secretary.
Senator Malhoff moves that a committee of 7 on the part of the Senate and a committee of 7 on the part of the House be appointed to escort Chairman J. Garrett Renville of the Siston Wahpeton Oyate.
Is there a second? Comments on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries. President announces the committees are comprised of Senators Carr, Melhoff, Perry, Larson, Smith, Roll, Foster, and House Representative Member Representative Stevens, Mortensen, Rayfeld, Lesmeister, Healy, Donnell, Duba, Emery, Peterson, Sioux, Poirier, St. John, and Tordson. This time, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce another leader of our state, Chairman Garrett Renville of the Siston Wahpeton Oyate. Chairman Renville is a sound-minded leader with a heart for his people. He cares for the health, the well-being, and prosperity and safety of the tribal nations. The chairman and I had the opportunity. I look forward to hearing from him today and how we, as state officials, can work together to govern our state. Sergeant at Arms, would you please announce the arrival of the chairman?
It's my honor to introduce Garrett Rendell as he presents the State of the Tribes address to the joint committee here at the House. So thank you. House. So thank you.
Kipi. Greetings, Lieutenant Governor Roden, Speaker Hansen, members of the 100th Legislative Session, esteemed tribal leaders. It is both an honor and a privilege to address you today as the chairman of the Sisseton-Wapton Oyate, tribal nation located in the northeastern corner of the state. The Sisseton-Wapton shares geography with North and South Dakota. We have an enrollment of over 14,000 members. I am also a resident of Legislative District 1. The Sisseton-Wapton is home to the original Dakota people. This is why I am honored by this opportunity to address the legislature at the start of this historic 100th session on behalf of the 9 tribal nations of the Oceti-Sakowin that share the common borders with the great state of South Dakota. As I look around this chamber, I see leaders from every corner of the state, people of diverse backgrounds, united by a shared dedication to make South Dakota stronger, fairer, and more prosperous. Likewise, our tribal leaders and council members work tirelessly with the same commitment to uplift and empower our tribal nations. Today, I want to speak from a tribal leader's perspective on how we can build that future together. Through collaboration and open communication between tribes and the state and local businesses for the benefit of our mutual citizens. Though we might not agree on all issues, which is okay, but in the areas that we do, we must work to uplift those opportunities for future generations. Now, before we delve into the challenges ahead, let me share this. If you think getting the legislature to agree on something is tough, try organizing a tribal council meeting. Every member feels compelled to share a story before we get started, and sometimes it can run on for a long time. But here's the truth. Whether in tribal council or this legislature, progress is not about perfection. It's about persistence, honest communication, and partnership. Today, I believe we are at a historic moment. As we speak, the governor is in Washington, D.C., meeting with members of the Senate in preparation for her confirmation proceedings to become the nation's next Secretary of Homeland Security. A Senate led by a South Dakotan named John Thune, who within 20 years of defeating a previous South Dakotan leader of the Senate, now assumes the majority leader position himself. Meanwhile, Congressman Johnson is brokering leadership positions and bringing about appropriation bills in a divided House of Representatives. South Dakota is now literally at the center of the political universe. We have an opportunity now to bring about real change for our people and at all levels of government, but we must work together. Which brings me to the central idea of improving our mutual relationship, honest and open communication. Over the past several years, there has been a series of breakdowns in the government-to-government engagement that has not benefited our mutual citizens. Statements made and actions taken without communication has created an environment of distrust between our sovereign nations and the state. Legislation that impacts our tribal budgets, statements on our parents, engagement on education, to claims that our tribal leaders are involved in cartel activities have eroded the bonds that previous leaders worked so hard to build. Today, let's reset. Today, let's rebuild. Today, let's start to listen and actually hear. Indian country is not a political party. We are Pate Oyate, Buffalo people. Our needs are not based on political ideals, but real-world problems and treaty obligations. No party holds our vision or our votes. No party operates in our tribal elections. So let us begin. Law enforcement and increasing the coverage gap. Tribal lands make up over 12% of the total land. That is 77,000 square miles, or 5 million acres within the borders of South Dakota. However you choose to break that down, this is a vast amount of area with very low law enforcement due to woefully underfunded federal budgets. The Coe Creek Sioux Tribe has only 3 officers. Lower Brule has 2, Yankton has 2, Rosebud has 14, and Sisseton has 14. This is a serious problem, and it is a problem we have been communicating to legislature for over 6 years. But last year, change happened. This esteemed body, under the leadership of Representative Rocky Blair and Senator Red Don Foster, at the request of Yankton and Rosebud Sioux tribes, passed Resolution 6011 to ask Congress to support a regional BIA law enforcement academy. That resolution worked. Congress moved and has begun to address the dire need for law enforcement in Indian country. But here, this past summer, Attorney General Jackley hosted a tribal academy with the support of BIA at the state's George S. Mickelson Criminal Justice Center. 9 tribal officers, along with 12 other officers from around the state, became the first graduates. Our hope is that this becomes permanent and an official BIA academy. We need our officers trained locally so that they stay locally. As stated by a colleague from Standing Rock, crime does not respect political boundaries. It takes all of us working together to solve these problems. Honoring agreements. Tribal governments have signed tax agreements with the state to collect tax revenue on behalf of tribes. These agreements are vital to tribal government budgets and must be honored. Legislation has been proposed in previous sessions that sought to eliminate the sales tax without regard to how the proposals would impact the state tax agreements with the tribes and the immediate impact on tribal governments. Though defeated, action eroded trust in agreements between the state and tribes. This erosion could have been easily prevented if tribes had been consulted and policy implementation discussed prior to fast-track legislation. We thank you, though, for defeating that bill. Now, we need help on your transparency. This year, we are requesting this legislature to require the Department of Revenue to show how they are collecting online sales tax revenue from tribal lands These revenues are not stated in compacts, but had been promised to tribes after Wayfair. We would like an accounting of how much online sales tax was collected from tribal areas and how much was returned to the tribes from which they were collected. Transparency and trust are vital. We respectfully ask you to support House Bill 1018, an act to require the Department of Revenue provide an annual report to tribal governments regarding certain tax collections. We're also interested in another idea that could be developed into legislation, a bill that would provide for a capital gains tax exclusion for land that is sold to tribal interest and transferred back into tribal ownership. These type of land back transfers would enhance tribal economic activity by going into agricultural use and making right lands that were once allotted against many tribes' wishes. At Sisseton, we're revitalizing agriculture. We're farming our own lands. And agriculture has always been at the heart of South Dakota's economy. It's more than just a job, it's a way of life. However, we face some challenges. Much of the land our tribal nations reside on aren't ideal for farming, and farmers across the state are dealing with higher costs and lower profits. It does not have to be this way. By empowering tribal nations to farm their own lands, we can stimulate local economies, increase food security, and boost agricultural output for the entire state. This is about more than economics. It's about reclaiming a relationship with the land that our ancestors honored for generations. By blending traditional wisdom with modern practices, we can pioneer sustainable agriculture that respects the land and feeds our communities. I invite state leaders and local businesses to join us in this effort. Together, we can create training programs, share resources, and open markets for crops and livestock raised on tribal lands. In doing so, we will strengthen South Dakota's agricultural legacy while honoring the spirit of the land itself. Education, the heart of our future. If agriculture is our backbone, education is our heart. It empowers our children to dream, innovate, and lead. Yet, in too many of our communities, education remains an unmet promise. Our tribal schools face unique challenges, underfunding, high dropout rates, and a lack of culturally relevant curricula. But these challenges are not insurmountable. Imagine a South Dakota where every child, whether in Pine Ridge, Pierre, or Sisseton, have access to the same high-quality education. Imagine classrooms where Native history and culture are celebrated, not as a side note, but as a fundamental part of learning and history of South Dakota. I applaud previous efforts for elevating this history. We can make this vision a reality by investing in tribal schools, building partnerships between state universities and tribal colleges, and supporting programs that inspire Native students to pursue careers in teaching, healthcare, and technology. Education is a bridge from our past to our future, and let's ensure it's a bridge every child can cross. I understand several bills are already introduced to look at options for our parents and students in education. We are curious to see how these bills will work in regard to impact, aid, Bureau of Indian Education students, impact on BIE funding, and other issues. We are not stating opposition, but we are again asking that the state work with tribes to ensure that all students are being considered. In addition, we support the return of the Office of Indian Education back to the Department of Education, as was the purpose when it was created in 2007, Indian Education Act. The office's mission was to support initiatives that help students and educators appreciate South Dakota's American Indian culture. To be able to do this in partnership it makes complete sense to reintroduce the Indian Education Advisory Council with education representatives from all 9 South Dakota tribes. Tribal nations managed care I see as huge collaborative opportunity for the state and tribes. So let's talk about healthcare, because there's no prosperity without well-being. For too long, many communities in South Dakota, both tribal and non-tribal, have faced significant barriers to quality healthcare. Some barriers are geographic, others are systemic, but all are solvable if we work together. Where no family has to travel hours for medical care, where children grow up healthy, where our elders receive the dignity and care they deserve. That future is within reach if we continue the work we started over a year ago with Governor Noem and DSS Secretary Althoff. Under Section 506 in the American Rescue and Recovery Act of 2009, there are protections for American Indians under Medicaid and CHIP. Tribes have an opportunity to establish an Indian managed care entity to self-determine more healthcare opportunities. With Sista and Wapton taking the lead role and our sister tribes in support, we are hoping to establish this opportunity while partnering with the local South Dakota business. With a better coordination of care and shifting a focus of reactive to proactive when it comes to Medicaid member health outcomes, the benefits of an Indian managed care entity to the state could be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. It contributes 2 important things to the state budget: stability and predictability by providing a set pre-negotiated cost for healthcare services to the state Medicaid program. A shared history and a unified future. South Dakota's history is complex. It is a story of resilience and conflict, division and unity. But while we must acknowledge the challenges of the past, we must also recognize our shared desire to write a new chapter together. This chapter begins with truth. Yes, there have been struggles, land disputes, policy disagreements, broken promises, but there have also been moments of cooperation when neighbors came together to face challenges greater than any one group could solve alone. Let us learn from both the struggles and successes. Let us commit to listening, respecting, and working together, not as adversaries, but as allies. Let us start to update our past. We are asking the state to support a resolution calling on Congress to remove the exile of the Dakota people from Minnesota by amending the Dakota Removal Act of 1863. We are not looking for land or any other concessions. We seek only to remove the exile language. This act is a source of great historical trauma to the Dakota people, and we must heal from that past if we are to evolve as healthy people in the future. Minnesota passed a similar resolution in 2009. We ask for your support, and as I stated earlier, resolutions from this body to Congress, they work. This past November, the country voted for change. Change that includes respect for property rights and the environment, change to reduce the size of the federal government while also shifting programs more directly to the local level, change in how we communicate to our mutual citizens. Change is good. The tribes agree that a reduction in bureaucratic overhead could be extremely beneficial for our tribes like ours, especially for top-heavy programs like health services and housing. In addition, the move to shift programs within federal government to areas with stronger implementation infrastructure could result in better use of limited program dollars. As we did on law enforcement last year, we will be kindly requesting this body for a resolution to ask Congress to reauthorize the Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act, a program much needed to help reduce the housing crisis in tribal areas. A stable home creates a stable environment for our children, and a stable environment creates a healthy education, and a healthy education creates strong economies. On the state level, the citizens voted for change to ensure respect for property rights and the environment in regards to the carbon pipeline. This change is welcomed by tribes. I want to make clear to this body, as we oppose DAPL and KXL, the 9 tribal governments oppose the carbon pipeline, period. What does this mean for us here today? It means we cannot afford to wait for someone else to lead. The challenges we face, whether in healthcare, law enforcement, agriculture, or education, are urgent, and the opportunities before us are great. It is time to reset our relationships. It is time to listen and hear each other. It is time we work for our citizens. It is time we begin to trust. Thus, today I call on this 100th legislature to join us in a new era of collaboration and communication. Let us craft policies that empower tribal nations to manage their own healthcare systems. Let us invest in agricultural initiatives that make full use of our state's lands and talents. Let us ensure every child in every community receives the education they deserve. Let's work to secure our communities, and let's build an environment in which our economies can thrive. South Dakota's strength lies not in our divisions, but in our diversity. We are richer because of the cultures, traditions, and perspectives we share. When we work together, there's nothing we cannot achieve. As I close, I want to leave you with the words of the great Lakota leader, Sitting Bull. He once said, "Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children." That is the challenge before us today. Let us rise to meet it, not as tribal leaders or state legislators, but as parents, neighbors, and South Dakotans. Because the future we build together will be the legacy we leave behind. Lastly, success is not easy. It takes work. But as you embark on this 100th legislative session, let's remember it only takes one success to rewrite history. Let's find a way to rewrite ours and bring success to those we serve. Wopida, thank you.
Okay, Natalie, are you there? That was kind of a little abrupt transition, but hopefully I didn't lose Natalie. Did I? Are you there, Natalie? Are you there, Natalie?
Yes, I am. I don't know why.
Okay, I did that. Are you there again? I think
I'm here.
I turned us off, unfortunately.
Okay.
Can you hear me though?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think we might be having a little bit of a, we might have lost Natalie, so we still are, I think, live on the radio. So hopefully she's going to be able to get back in. She is here, but I think she's muted for some reason. And I don't know if I did that. I didn't do it. I don't know what that is. So I guess rather than for me to try to figure this out, maybe I will go back to the music for a couple of minutes, and then we'll try to reconnect with Natalie. Thank you so much, everyone, for being patient. And I think that there's a lot that we learned just now with the speech that the chairman of the Sisseton tribe gave us, and I'm really grateful that we're able to have everyone listen to that. So I'm gonna try to get Natalie back, and then we'll have a conversation, hopefully a little bit with less troubles with the electronics. So thank you, everyone.